Welcome to the BizDad Podcast, where we dive into the melding of fathership and entrepreneurship with your host, the original BizDad himself, Adam Labar. Adam is a Christian, a former Air Force officer, a dad to 3 amazing kids, a coach, a real estate investor, and a business owner. On this podcast, he'll explore the unique journeys of amazing dads who are striving for greatness in both business and family. So whether you're a dad who is an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply a man striving to be a better dad, get ready as the BizDad brings you conversations to inspire, challenge, and equip you to be a better dad and entrepreneur. And now, here's Adam.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the BizDad Podcast. I am your host, as always, Adam Labar, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation with Jay London. I can already tell, so before this even started, he and I were both talking about how we don't really like people, so this should be a great conversation with 2 people that don't really like people, but we're both doing better at liking people, so it'll be fun for us to kind of break out of our shell here a little bit. So Jay, if you can, please go ahead and tell us about yourself, tell us about your family, and tell us about your business.
Okay. Myself is, I grew up as a little farm boy in Apache, Oklahoma. I think I had 66 people in my graduating high school class. Didn't know nothing other than farming. Broke out into the big world of opened my eyes when I went to college, and things completely changed. My guys, my crew, buddies, I guess I should say, I was in Panama City Beach before MTV made it famous on spring break. Mm-hmm. And got through college. College wasn't my thing, so I left college and went to work, and eventually ended up into law enforcement. I was a cop. I was a deputy for 3 years and a cop for 7. And then while I was being a cop, I just realized that there was more in life I wanted, and it took money to make it. And law enforcement doesn't pay worth a damn. So I was sitting on a drug sting one night watching one of those infomercials at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it got me, and they put their hooks in me, and I called my wife at 2, and I said, guess where we're going on our anniversary? And she goes, where? I said, Austin, Texas. She goes, oh, we're going to go see this? I said, no, we're going to a seminar. And that's where my real estate investing started, is one of them things. I went to many of those and lost more money than most people make in a lifetime in real estate. But I flipped houses for years, went into home building, been home building for 25 years, and then got into commercial development about 5 years ago. And that's all we do now is commercial, residential, multifamily. I kind of retired from the home building business. It's just, all we did was customs for the last 5 years, and it's a very stressful business. And started building apartment complexes, duplexes, developing land for multi-family developments, and industrial warehouses, flex space, self-storage, and that's kind of where we're at now. I run about 20 to 25 million in development a year.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, we're doing that. And then as for my family, I've been married to my wife, Casey, for 35 plus years, and we have 3 beautiful daughters. They've all grown pretty well. My last one graduates college. She's going to OU this year. Well, she's going to graduate from OU in May with a psychology degree, and she's always psychoanalyzing dad. My oldest daughter's a rock star. She graduated in the finance area, like her mother, and she works for an international multi-billion-dollar company and travels all over the world. Makes me jealous all the time, where she's always going and traveling and living the dream. And then my middle daughter, she is a speech pathologist, and she's doing great. So my kids have turned out, I'm a lucky man. My kids have turned out well and done very well, and they're going to be very successful.
Fantastic. Yeah, sounds like it.
As for me, I don't hunt, I don't fish, I don't watch sports. I have no hobbies. So I left the farm as a young man because I hated the life, the work, and everything. And here I am 40 years later, circling back. I'm into the registered Texas Longhorn business now as a hobby, and I enjoy the far out of it. So
very good.
It's kind of where I'm at.
How many Longhorn do you have?
I've got 15 cows, and
nice.
gotten into the embryo business. I've got 20 embryos of some very high-powered bloodlines. It is a rich man's game, but it's fun. And I'll be having those embryos. We'll be starting my foundation. I just got into the Longhorns about a year ago. I needed to do something. My dad retired from farming or raising cattle. You know, I grew up on homegrown beef. You know, we always put beef on feed for the family every year. And when he decided to retire and get out of the cattle business, I said, well, crap, then I've got to start raising the beef. I said, but I'm not getting into the commercial herd business. I said, I'm going to do something that's fun. And I've always had one or two Longhorn cows on his herds, and all he did was he just cussed them all the time. He hated them. You know, he just hated the cows because they're kind of hard-headed. But they're just really docile and fun. You know, they're great. I love watching them and messing with them. But he always cussed them. So when I said, well, I guess I'm going to start raising the beef. So I started doing my research, and I said, I'm going to get into this Longhorn business hard. And he still cusses them, but he likes to go to the sales and stuff with me and look at them. He enjoys it. He's got to be gruff about it, but he likes the game too. So I started raising the beef for the family 2 years ago. So I feed out 2 or 3, 4 calves a year, and I'll sell 1 or 2 to some of my buddies that are always on me going, hey, I want a half or I want something like that, and it's just fun, and it keeps me out of trouble. I'm one of those guys, when I have idle time, I spend money, and that's not good, because I like to buy things that are expensive. So when I have to work, I don't have time to do mischievous things like spend money.
Yeah.
Then, you know, I before I got in the Longhorn business, I got to a few buddies, and I like to smoke a cigar and have a glass of bourbon and kind of talk a little bit. Well, it started getting a little more routine than it should have. So I said, you know, I need to get a handle on this deal. So I found a hobby that I enjoyed doing. So now, instead of going to the cigar bar and drinking bourbon, I go out and see my Longhorns.
There you go. And drink bourbon with your Longhorns.
Huh? I do.
And drink bourbon with your Longhorns, yeah.
I do, but it's not at a bar, so I can't get a refill.
Exactly. I got to walk all the way back to get my refills.
Now we're in the process of building a new house now. I bought 60 acres on the south side of town, and we're building a house on it, and this is my last one. I am done after this house. I told my wife, I said, you better get everything you want on it because I'm dying. So
what's going on, everybody? I wanted to jump in and take a second to tell you about the awesome team over at Wise VAs. Oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, we can feel a bit overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up our valuable time, and it's time to reclaim that schedule, all right? It's time to stop doing some of those $10 an hour jobs and give them back to an elite group of talent that are there specifically to help you and help you stay in your zone of genius. So delegate those $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Reclaim what matters most in your life, which is your time. Get that amazing team of elite remote talent that is there to help support you and make sure that you are giving back the best to your company. So schedule a free strategy call at getwisevas.com/Adam. That is getwisevas.com/Adam. It is an amazing group, an amazing team. They do an awesome job with everything that they've got going on there. If you have some tasks on the side, whether it's administrative, whether it's editing, whether it's recording, whatever it is, they have got an assistant for you, someone who is going to be able to help you out and take some of those tasks off of your plate. I thank Wise VAs every day for helping me process all of these podcasts, helping me take care of a bunch of stuff in the background, and I definitely would recommend them over to you. So again, getwisevas.com/Adam. All right, thanks a lot. Back to the show. Especially after building them for so long, it's time for you to, you building your own, that gets exhausting again.
Yeah, this is our third one. I'm not like most builders, build every 2 years and move, and 2 years and move. I accumulate a lot of stuff because I have shops and everything, and moving is like getting kicked in the throat. I don't enjoy it, but we're going to move one more time. The house that we're living in right now was only supposed to be in it for a year because I sold our last house during COVID when everybody was paying too much, and I sold and got out and bought a little old shack in the middle of town, and I said, well, honey, we're just going to be in it for a year because we're doing this residential development out here. Well, it took a lot longer than I anticipated, and here we are at 3 years, and I said, I got to get this house started before she divorces me. So we're starting on it, and Mama's happy, so we're doing well, and the real estate market's doing okay. The residential real estate market sucks right now, but I learned You know, in my lifetime of career, I went broke twice and rebuilt myself 2 times in the real estate business. And I learned that when it gets tough, you got to keep going. You don't pull back. You don't stop. You ramp it up and throw it in overdrive, because the only way to stay alive in real estate is you got to keep moving. Mm-hmm. Because when you stop, the wolves will come. So
yeah,
you got
for sure.
So find ways, diversify like crazy. I was the typical home builder. All I knew was I got to build houses. I got to build more houses. I need more starts. I got to keep starts going and stuff like that. But when I got into commercial world, it completely opened my eyes tremendously. And it was hard for me to get into the the residual. I always liked the big checks, being a home builder and a flipper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always chased the big checks. And it was really hard for me to change my mindset to start building my wealth.
Yeah.
And building to keep and building to hold. But I got into that about 5 years ago, and now I think, why in the world did I not do this 20 years ago? I'd be completely retired. So I'm on a fast speeding plane right now, building my 401k. Then I've got all my kids out of college and raised.
Nice.
I had no retirement or anything like that, because I like to live at a certain level, and it took a lot of money to live at that level and pay for the kids and take care of everything. Because I took care of my daughters well. So everything, when they graduated college, they had no college debt and their cars paid for it. And, I wanted to set them up so they couldn't fail.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that they could, a parent, it's our job to make sure our kids do better than we do. It is our responsibility to make sure they do. That was my whole goal in life, was to take care of those girls. They were my whole purpose. Every time that I went broke, I could have felt sorry for myself and blamed everybody else in the world, when in reality, the man in the mirror made the decisions. So
yeah.
You can either sit around and suck your thumb, or you can just get back on the horse, wipe off the bruises and get back on the horse, and chalk it up as a learning lesson. So
that's all you can do
today, and things are going pretty good. And of course, my vision was very big from the smaller town I was working in. I moved into Oklahoma City about 13, 14 years ago, and it's just night and day compared to where I was originally starting. So that's kind of my life story in a basket.
Well, we're going to dig back a little bit more into that life story, because I want to kind of understand a little bit of growing up on the farm, and especially, oh, hey, little lady.
Oh, you got some little bitty one.
She just woke up.
Wow.
Say good morning.
I see that.
Say good morning.
What's this one's name?
So this is Diana. She's our littlest.
Diana. Pretty girl.
And our dog is moving the microphone right into her face. But I'm going to rewind a little bit and go back to you growing up on the farm, right? So I'd love to chat with people about their dads and kind of their upbringing. It sounds like you still have a relationship with your dad for sure, and he's still hates your Longhorns. So, but I want to rewind a little bit and kind of like, what was it like for you growing up? Obviously, you said a small town. You're growing up on the farm. What was your relationship like with your dad? How did that kind of shape you into who you are now? And let's just kind of go backwards.
On a farm, there is no I'd say holidays and weekends and stuff like that. You get up, you work there every day, sun up to sundown. When I was 14 years old, I was working a 12-hour day as a kid. I sat on a tractor all day long, sun up to sundown. I think I can only remember 2 vacations we took when I was a kid. Because farming, you just don't make a lot of money. But you work your butt off. You don't really have wants, because I was never hungry, and I really never had no wants. Well, other than the things that I wanted to accomplish in my life. When I was 15 years old, I made a vision board and didn't even know what a vision board was. But it was the things that I could never afford on the farm, the Corvettes, the fast cars, and the boats. So now that at my age, I've owned everything I've ever wanted to own in my life. But the vision board at 15 was something that I wanted to do. So on the farm, you work hard every day. You get up on Christmas morning, you open your presents, then you have to go out and break ice and feed cattle and put hay out and do all that other stuff. So there's no just, hey, let's jump on a plane today and disappear for a week. It doesn't work that way in the farming business. You're working your butt off, and on the farm, you learn how to do everything. You can't just, back then, we didn't have YouTube and Google. You learned how to fix stuff with baling wire and tape and weld. I mean, most farm kids know how to do everything, You just figure it out. You have to figure it out. So I was very fortunate in a way growing up on the farm, because there's just about nothing I can't do, from running heavy equipment to framing a house to doing electric, plumbing. I mean, there's very little that I can't do. Now, there's a whole lot I won't do, but it's just I'm fortunate enough to know how to do everything, And part of that was growing up on a farm. The kids that grow up in the city nowadays, they don't understand that. I mean, most of them don't even know how to change a flat tire. They have to Google it or YouTube it or something. And it's a shame that our society has come to that the doers don't know how to do. And I think, they've taken shop classes and all that other stuff out of school. I think that's a huge mistake. They need to start teaching kids, because in our industry, the construction industry, your average age of your trades are 60 years old. There's no young trades getting licensed HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We have a huge need for it. And those kids are not taught in school that, man, you can go out here and make you $150,000 being an electrician. Well, they don't know that. But because there's a lot of people a lot of young men and women that are not college kids. They need to learn how to do trades, because we're in extremely need of it in the construction industry. And if there was somebody that would go into the schools and talk to these kids, I went in and talked to the kids in my kid. It was my youngest daughter's classes, and talked to some of the boys and said, listen, you need to understand that college may not be for you, but you need to know that you can make a six-figure salary out here doing this other stuff very easily. All you got to do is get out of bed and go to work every day. And they all started going, really? I'm going, yeah, well, that kind of money can be made in industries. You just don't know it. You get beat in your head. You need to be a doctor, lawyer. You need to go into, get a college degree to do this and do that. Well, how many attorneys are out there living in their parents' house because they can't make no money because we have so many attorneys? Because CPAs out there, living in a one-bedroom apartment because they're not making no money because they're so abundant. They need to start thinking about the ones that don't fit college. Really need to think about a trade school, because the trade school is going to teach them how to make good money. And that's just my opinion. Me and college didn't work out, and at my point in my life, I'm worth a lot more money than a lot of the kids that did go to college at my age that I went to school with, just because I went a different route. So. But then again, they are at the age if they're retiring. I will never retire.
Well, retiring is a different thing than anything else.
Yeah, I have friends going, Jay, when are you going to retire? I said, well, what am I supposed to do then? I don't hunt. I don't play golf. I don't fish. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I love getting up, chasing the deal. That's just, I have a passion for chasing deals and bringing things to life. But not growing up on a farm, I was fortunate enough. As a kid, I hated it because I didn't get to do the things that other kids in my class were doing that just had parents that had jobs because they made more money. But I think that it kind of made me who I am.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, those types of, I've looked at buying a bunch of farm land and bringing my kids on there because just the way that you grow up on a farm is so different than anything else. I already homeschool, so it wouldn't make much of a difference for me. Like, they're already here. I'd love to just put them to work out there. They love to work. They love to be outside. I was like, man, this would be like, I don't want farming to be my business, but I would love to have it as my hobby, like you're talking about, right? Like, hey, we've got some cattle, we've got some stuff, but I would imagine it's still a good amount of work. But hopefully we can hire some of the ridiculous amount of work, but put my kids to work and let them know what it means to, learn how to do all of these different trades. Because I'm with you on that. Like, it's a lost art of, like, for a long time, everybody was just saying, hey, you have to go to school, go to college, get a good job, and blah, blah, blah. And just completely, like, I was the opposite of that. I guess not really, but I went straight into the military, which is a great idea for many people. I'm not sure I would try to encourage my kids to go into the military at this point, but man, oh man, like the military, the trades, going and getting all these other, like, I mean, what the heck? And then, like, my son, he was my middle kiddo, Rourke. We were driving by something and he saw this tractor and he's like, I want to drive those when I grow up. And I said, how about we own a business that has a bunch of those things, and you can drive whichever tractor you want, but you have a bunch of employees that do all the stuff, and like, just the conversation we get to have, like, yeah, let's do it. Like, if that's what you want, like, let's go for it, But I don't know. My kids are still young, so it's I'm introducing them to business. I'm introducing them to things that I was never introduced to. So they've got a different life than I ever had. So it's wonderful to kind of see the difference. So when you said you're obviously growing up on the farm, your dad was probably, I would imagine, your first boss and probably your longest running boss. So
he sure was.
What kind of leader was he in the family? What kind of, when you look back and say, okay, this is how he led the family. This is where he got his work ethic from. Where do you think that came from?
I think it came from his, we were multi-generational farmers, and, he learned from my mother's dad owned a lot of farmland and ran a lot of cattle, and then his dad also farmed and ran the grain elevators. It was just it was just that where we grew up. That's what you did. 99% of the or 95% of the people you farmed. You know, it was a huge farming town, running a lot of cattle and stuff. So when you grow up in that type of a deal, that's all you know. That's all you learn. So you just take over from where they did and just keep going. And Dad was like me. He got up, did what needed to be done every day. You didn't have somebody telling you what to do. You know, like a boss or somebody giving you a list of things to get done for the day. You wake up and you say, okay, this is what I got to get done today. This is how we got to get it done. And it's just you have to be self-driven for sure to be successful in it, just like entrepreneurs. And you have to get things done to move on to the next thing, just like entrepreneurs. You know, it's just farming is kind of like entrepreneurship, honestly.
Very much so.
You know, it's just a lot of more harder work because you're out there sweating and freezing and everything else. When a lot of entrepreneurs say, "I'm gonna call somebody else to do that," you know, hey, can you go get the skid steers and build the dirt or whatever? You know, as a farmer, you're out there having to do it yourself because it doesn't make enough to hire a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we had our difficult times and financial problems in farming. Every farmer does, but you know, after a certain time, both my parents ended up going to work for civil service to help pay the bills, and then Dad turned into farming in the evenings and weekends.
Okay.
The kid, we farmed approximately 1,000 acres of wheat and ran probably 400 head of cows. That when I left the home, and then when my brother left the home, Dad didn't have his free labor anymore, so he was having to do all the work. So he downsized quite a bit, and then he went to work running heavy equipment at Fort Sill or at a military civil service, and Mom worked in the financial department of the civil service job, and they both retired from there. And then Dad continued on farming. They owned the farm the whole time. He downsized tremendously when they went out there, which, you know, I think, of course, my parents are very conservative. They didn't spend, and they retired. The farms were paid for, and they did well compared to how a lot of other farmers, you know, they just keep, you know. My dad said something to me when I was a very young man. He says, you can't borrow yourself out of debt. And so many farmers just keep borrowing money to stay alive and make a little interest payments on the farm and keep trying to go. And they keep thinking I just need 1 year. I'm going to hit it. I got to hit it 1 year and then I get it paid for. But it doesn't work that way. Mother Nature doesn't allow it to work that way. You know, and then you just keep going and keep going. And eventually you dig yourself into a hole that you can't get out of. So my parents were smart enough to figure out that we need to go get a job and put this farming on a part-time deal. They would manage to retire and have money to retire, where so many farmers did. But Dad, you know, it still eats him up. He's 76 years old and he wants to buy more cows now. I think he's been retired for about 2 years, and I think he's about done. I think he's about ready.
Yeah, about ready to get back to work again.
Something to do. You get up, you go to work every day and got something to do. I was worried to death about him because when you stop, when you go every day like that, when you stop, you die. And I was really worried. I'm going, man. But Dad's a busybody. He's always staying busy on something. But I think he's missing the cattle business pretty hard because that just gave him purpose every day. You know, we all need purpose to get out of bed, and that was his purpose, to go mess with his cows. So
now he gets to mess with your cows and curse them out and be upset about it.
He comes over and checks on them when he's just got nothing else to do. But I think he feels sometimes that, you know, he doesn't want to be in my way. You know, I bought those cows for him to come and look at, or do whatever you want to do. I still have to call him on, you know, certain things that I don't know. Because I grew up and, you know, we polled, we did stuff, we vaccinated, but I just did what he told me to do. You know, I didn't care about retaining it as a young man because I said, I'll never do this crap. So now I have to call him and say, okay, what do you think here? What do you think about that? Or what do you think? And he'll tell you need to do this, do that. And I said,
which I'm sure he loves because it gives him an extra purpose as well. Right now, he still gets to mentor you and help you.
He helps me work them. You know, it's getting almost springtime. We're going to do vaccinations here pretty soon. He comes and he helps me vaccinate and stuff like that, the cows. And of course, you know, with longhorns, bighorn cattle, you got to have different kind of setups and chutes and stuff. And he was a little concerned in the beginning, going, "How are we going to work these suckers? Because some of them's got 90-inch horns on them. How are we going to work these horns?" I said, "They built a chute for it, and I got it. I got the chute." And when the first time we worked, he goes, "Well, this deal works pretty good." I said, "I'm not going to do things the hard way, Dad."
Yeah.
If it's going to be hard for me, it's gone. I'm done. When it comes a burden to me, it's out. I'm out of here. I don't have to have this job. So
If it became hard, I'd get the vaccinations with a dart gun and just shoot them at them and be done.
well, we have the dart gun, but it's just, in the springtime, you have multiple vaccinations, worm and stuff, so you really got to run the issue.
Yeah.
So, but now it's.
I remember I went out to a friend's farm out in Austin, outside of Austin, that he's got some longhorn. That was the first time I got real close to a longhorn, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." But you like duck, because when they turn their head, you can get knocked out pretty quickly by the looks of things. And then we went to this camping place. It's a agro-tourism thing. We went camping in there, and there was just dozens of longhorn that would just go walking through the campground, and you could sit there and take pictures with them, go up and pet. I was like, this is amazing. I want to own a ranch like this where people can just come, enjoy the longhorns. I can have all of this land, and it was just awesome. I really loved it. So you're speaking to my heart right now with the longhorn side of the house. Just they're really cool animals to watch walk around. Like, those horns are ridiculous. It's amazing to me.
They are a great conversation piece. Just people will, here's what I tell Daddy. He's always saying, we raise good black cattle. I said, people will not stop on the road to look at your black cow. They will stop on the road to look at that longhorn and take pictures of that longhorn. It's just something like a buffalo. Longhorns are like a buffalo. People want to stop and look at them because they're just cool. They're a national icon. So it's fun. It's fun. When all my friends come over and they go, man, look at these cows. And of course, big horns, they're scared to death. Will they get me? No, they'll actually eat the feed out of your hand if you put it out there. But you got to be careful. Like you said, they'll swat a fly or something, and when they move their head, it's like swinging a baseball bat at you. You got to watch them. They don't do it
for sure.
It's not on purpose. It's just that's just how you got to keep your distance and be careful.
Yep, for sure. Definitely be ready.
Yes, for sure.
So when you were raising 3 daughters, right? So what was kind of your thesis on raising your kids? Kind of how did it kind of shift? I know you wrote a book, Stop Chasing Paychecks, because kind of looking backwards on stuff. So let's go with what your thesis was at the beginning and kind of how it started to shift as you were raising your 3 daughters into the crazy world that we live in.
Well, originally, it was started off that I wanted to have what I couldn't have when I was a kid. And I wanted to provide that for my family. And I thought that the more toys and luxury that I provided the kids, that, they would be better off. And looking back now, that I completely regret what all I did. Now, granted, a lot of it was for me, but I also had my kids living in big homes, and it started hitting me when my girls started acting like the little rich bitches. And they were little girls. And I said, no, this is not what I was after. This is not what I want them. I don't want them thinking that they're better than other people. That's not what I wanted them to enjoy what I was providing and what we could do and everything we was doing. But that's when I started seeing the change, that I was realizing, wait a minute, this is not going the path that I wanted it to go. So I had to look back and think, okay, I need to start keeping some of my success away from the kids. And they need to not think that they are better than other people. Even though, I bought them, luckily I raised them to the point, I bought them Audis and Mercedes when they went to college. But at that point, I think they'd gotten past the point of thinking that I'm better than other people, because me and their mother don't live that way. Mm-hmm. We live simple. They always grew up listening to us talk about business and hard times. It's just, in entrepreneurship, it's feast or famine. Everybody knows that. Home building, it's definitely feast or famine. There was tough times, very tough times. But I was very young when I went broke both times. So they didn't really get to see the whole picture or understand what was going on. But when I started rebuilding myself the second time, we had to move. So I had to also put them, force them out of their comfort zone, moving them to new schools and new cities and stuff like that, which I think helped them tremendously. But looking back now, that I wished I would have just, and I say this all the time, I didn't spend the time with the girls that I should have spent the time with, because people don't realize it at a young age, because everybody's chasing that dream, chasing that success, wanting to do well with it. And they're sacrificing the time with those little kids, because you can make money the rest of your stinking life.
Yeah.
Those little kids, I always say girls, my little girls grew up fast, and I regret not being there all the time with them. When I was in law enforcement, I only saw my family 2 days a week because I worked evening shifts, and I was working 3 jobs at that time. Most of the remodel work on my flips I did, and so it was tough times, but I wish I'd spent more time with my kids, growing up. I didn't. Luckily, I had an amazing wife that was there all the time, and the girls, they had her, to take care of them, and I was fortunate enough to let her quit her job and just come in and start doing the books for the companies and work from home, for the majority of the girls' lives growing up. And which was huge because she was there every waking hour with them and was able to instill her values into them. Now, Dad was always there. Dad could fix everything. Dads were there when they need them, but Dad didn't get to spend a lot of time with them. And I regret that as a father, that I wish I'd spent more time, because time's something we can't buy back no matter how much money we got.
For sure. So when you look back, what age were they when you started to notice the spoiled, rotten portion as opposed to just the spoiled portion coming out?
I'm going to say about 9, 10.
Okay.
Because they started running around with some other kids, and they was old enough to to get a cell phone then or stuff like that. It's just, that's when I started noticing and kind of hearing them talk. I'm going, getting that little flutiness. So it was about that age that they kind of realized that they was a little better off than other kids in the school they was with, and so they started acting that way. And I did not want to being the little, I say this politely,
spoiled, rotten sons of guns. Yeah, we'll say that. Yeah.
Spoiled, rotten little bitch. That's not what I wanted out of my children.
Yeah, for sure.
So we kind of had to pull back on a lot of things.
So I know that like in conversations with a lot of the entrepreneurs who started with nothing, right? Who, I tell people, like I grew up, there was quite a bit of the time where I remember making powdered milk. My kids are never going to drink powdered milk. They're never going to see powdered milk in their life. They don't even know that powdered milk exists, right? So a very different life that they have than what I had. And we're always trying to give our kids a better life, but oftentimes I think that means giving them better lessons rather than more things, which it sounds like you kind of realized that as well. How would you say, like, for folks that, even my age, I've got my kids are younger. My oldest is only 11, right? So if you were to go back and do it a little bit differently, how would you push a little bit more responsibility at a younger age, or maybe it's not responsibility? What would you do to kind of say, hey, let's keep these things in line. Let's give these kids perspective while still giving them a life I didn't have? Because there's that balance in our brain of how are our kids going to overcome all of these troubles, because they don't have troubles, right? They don't have the things that we had growing up, the issues we had growing up. So if you were to look back, how would you kind of have adjusted things those first 9 years so that you wouldn't have gotten to have that ache in your stomach when you saw that 9 and 10-year-old daughter of yours kind of being a little bit more prissy than she needed to be?
Well, I think you nailed it. The word's responsibilities. I think giving them more responsibilities to, as a young man, me growing up, chores. Having to go out and do this, do that, and everything, get it all ready before I got on the bus to go to school. Freaking hated it. But it gave me responsibility. And not when I had to go out and get dirty or do something, or I had to get things done, or I didn't get to do the other things I want to do. I come home and do your... 2 of my girls, they were so stinking smart, they didn't even hardly have to do any homework. But I think the kids need more responsibility than what they have nowadays. I think 100%, a lot of it is giving them chores, giving them responsibilities, holding them accountable for doing that kind of stuff instead of just mommy and daddy doing it all the time. I see parents buying their 16-year-old kids brand new vehicles and sending them to school nowadays, and I'm going, what is that teaching your child? What is that teaching your child? They need to roll up in school in a hoopty. And yes, one they earned. Now it's like, just the other day I got a text from a kid in school that says, hey, I'm raising money for the high school cheerleading team or something like that. When I grew up, they had bake sales. They had to get out and earn it. Now they just go around begging from other adults. Can I get $20 for this? Will you donate to this? Will you do that? What are you selling? What is that teaching your child? They had to actually get out and have bake sales or wash cars or do something to earn that money. Well, when they earn that, then they've accomplished something. to get to go to state or to do something like that. Now these kids just go around and put on an app and just start texting all the parents and say, hey, can you donate some money to our cause? What's that teaching the kids? What kind of responsibility or lessons is that teaching the kids to do? Because if you don't teach them to work hard, then what are they going to appreciate? You've got to, when you work hard and you accomplish something, you're going to appreciate it a lot more than if just, mom and dad gives it to you or the parents do it for you. So I think going back to giving them responsibilities, the responsibilities will cause them to appreciate more of what they're gaining in life than, it all comes easy. Instead of thinking, oh, everything comes easy in life, because it's not. Because when you grow up and you get out of mom and daddy's house, it's going to be tough. You're going to have a hard time unless you just stay in mommy and daddy's checkbook forever or live with mommy and daddy till you're 35 years old,
Yeah.
If you want to get out and try to make it on your own. My youngest daughter impresses the far out of me. She is a hustling son of a gun, and she will work her tail off because spring break's coming up. And she's not asking me for money. She never, ever, ever asks me for money. She'll come in and go, my bank account's down to $100, Dad. I need to do a job. Dad, what kind of work you got? I need to go do this. Or who can I go work for and go make some money? And I'm just going, she works her butt off to make good money. But she likes money, but she's not scared to work for it. And that's what I feel proud about. She doesn't just say, Daddy, can I have money like this? It's like, I need to go make some money. So I'm going to go hustle, make some money. And I feel like I've succeeded in raising my girls because they go hustle if they need to. They don't go to daddy, and they go figure out ways to make money instead of, when they was younger, instead of just, coming to the parents and asking for money like so many young kids nowadays do. I think the parents are failing their children at that when they just give.
I could agree with that. What would you say, excuse me, how did your conversations change from that time that you found, when you started to see that they're 9-10 years old until they graduated, right? How did your conversations start to shift? What sort of things did you pour into your daughters at that point to help them get some perspective on life, to help them start earning some responsibility? What sort of things? And then how much pushback did you get from them after the years of not having to do anything?
Well, it's funny because I'm kind of a very stern man, and I've always been that way.
I can't see that at all. That doesn't, no.
Everybody thinks I'm an asshole until they talk to me because I'm just, like I said, I don't like people. I don't start conversations with people. I don't introduce myself to people. And I'm just a hard-driven person. And when I started seeing that with my kids, it was just immediately, no, we're not going to act like this. You're not getting this shit. You're not getting this. And you're not getting that. We're pulling that. And, well, Daddy, this and that. I'm going, no, this is over. You're not going to act like that. And that was how I handled it. And then... But they didn't understand, which I should have, as a father, sat out and explained to them, this is how I see you acting because of where you are able to be in life. And your mother and I are the ones providing this to you. Because they listen, we've always told them how broke we was when we got together. We had $20 to make it after payday to the next payday. We struggled growing up. Me and my wife. My parents, we didn't come from money or anything. So when my daughter started acting that way and I started yanking back all the stuff I was doing and providing and stuff, the fits happened. The fits, and they didn't understand, and of course they hated us and this and that, but it was something that I felt that we needed to do to kind of bring them back down to reality. Once they got older, they understood it, but boy, it was tough because we gave too much in the beginning.
Yeah. So now, if you were to ask them now, like looking back, what would they, what sort of lessons do you think that they learned in the last parts, especially in high school, late junior high and high school, that they're like, I'm so glad that my dad did this? Or if they were to look back and say, boy, I wish I would have done more of this, what do you think they would say now?
Man, I don't know how to really answer that. I would hope they would say that, that taught me to be a little more conservative. That taught me to be a little more better with my money instead of just throw it away. It taught me to, be more responsible. But you know what? That's a great question that I should ask them, because I don't know how they would answer that. Because I don't know if they was young then, so I don't know if they even remember it happening or not. So I think I'll ask them one day.
There you go. Yeah. Let me know. If you think about it, let me know what the answer is.
I will. I'll ask them. I'm going to spend the afternoon with my middle daughter Friday. She's going to roll around with me. I'll ask her.
Very good. Well, I look forward to hearing back.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's a great question.
I want to talk about your book a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your book and kind of what the impetus was for writing it.
Basically, I wanted to get my story out. I've always thought about writing a book, and then I got hooked up with a guy that was from Joe's group, and he does the book. And I never knew how to write one or publish one or anything like that. And when I talked to him, he made it sound really, really easy. And we got it done. It was more about I wanted to get the word out there to the working class dads. It's very, very simple fourth grade reading that they need to think about not working so hard and chasing money that they are neglecting their children as they're growing up. That was the biggest thing about the book is you need that time is irreplaceable. Money's always there. You just got to go get it. But you cannot buy back time with those kids. And then the most important thing is being the father to those kids, whether you're a single dad or not, being there for those kids and being an influence in their lives so that their lives will be better regardless whether you give them anything or not. I think great parents will always steer a kid in the right direction when they're on a rough spot and help them make the right decisions if you're there. Just being a part of their life and sacrificing the chase of the entrepreneurship during the time that the kids are growing up. You don't need to be a multimillionaire at 30 years old. You need to spend the time with the kids because those kids and the time that they're growing up don't need to see daddy flashing around in a Lambo and all this other stuff. They need time. Go throw a ball with your son. Go take your daughter on picnics. Go do something with your kids so they have memories of their childhood with dad, because the money doesn't matter to them at that age. It does to us as grown-ups because we're feeling better about ourselves, but the kids, all they want is the time, and that's where I failed. I didn't spend the time with my kids that I should have.
I try to tell people all the time that time that you spend, excuse me, especially of a father, right? The kids need to see their dad work, but they also need to see their dad care. They need to see their dad be there. Like our daughters need to see what it means to be a supportive husband, a supportive dad, so that when they grow up, they know what to look for in another man that they're going to be marrying, right? My sons need to see what it looks like to work hard, but also what it means to care for their kids and be there and support them and see both sides of those things. And none of that has anything to do with money, right? It doesn't have anything to do with like, I've got loads of money, so I could just throw it at my problems. No, like we're all going to have problems that money can't solve, right? It makes it easier to solve problems, but it doesn't mean the money is going to solve the problems. You may get notification that somebody has cancer. Well, money may not solve that problem. You can't just throw money at cancer and hope it goes away. But if they know, hey, I've got a father who loves me, who's going to care for me, who's by my side, that is something that can help soothe a lot of these issues that money can't. And I think we've lived in a world long enough that demonizes men and says that they're they could just be pushed aside, whether it was in a sitcom or whether it was in real world scenarios where it's just no, push the man to the side, the man just needs to go and do whatever. And it's like, no, like the man needs to be present, the man needs to be there, the dad, the husband, like be a strong father, be a strong husband, show your kids what it means. And I can't preach that enough, loudly enough. So yeah, I love that. I love that you're saying it.
It's like what you're hitting the nail on the head. I see so many of these women nowadays, and I'm not saying being negative about it, but they don't think they need a man. And I think that's terrible because I think a strong relationship between a man and woman makes them both stronger.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the
Agreed.
She's always fixing my messes and cleaning up my messes and everything that I get into. And then she's there to support me and slap me on the ass and say, boy, get back in the game, when I'm walking around mad and feeling sorry for myself or something, or issues and problems, okay, it's over. Get back after it. Let's go. She's always been my biggest cheerleader. And then always been the one that I could lean on, my best friend. I don't call my buddies and talk about my problems. I call my wife. So when you say that the guys just need to go do their thing, I think this mindset of raising children or just having a kid and just because you're a man and a woman and then not being married, and I see so many young families now, they're not even getting married and having kids. I'm going,
yeah. What
is that saying to, and this is just my opinion, I may ruffle some people's feathers. What is that saying to your kids, the whole deal is marriage creates a foundation. Mm-hmm. It's just it is so easy nowadays that when we grew up and when our parents grew up, you struggled through the hard times and you figured the problems out, whether whatever cause it was, the relationship was bad, you worked through it because you had to stay together to survive. Nowadays, divorce is so easy. People just, I'm out. I'm gone. And it's just, I think the struggles is what makes the marriage stronger and the relationship stronger. And when the kids don't experience that with their parents, what are they going to do when they grow up? So getting back to what you said, that I think the younger generation has lost the ability to see what a successful marriage can bring them, or a successful relationship, and how it helps the kids that they have grow and be successful. Because I think, kids that are growing from a broken marriage have a more difficult time in life than if they have parents in the house. So I don't know. It's just I see a lot of it now. And it was funny you said that, because one of my closing agents the other day at a title company comes in, and I was talking about how great my kids are doing and this and that, and she's a single woman. And then I said something about some girl wanting to have a kid, but she's not married. And she goes, why does everybody think that nowadays that, you need a man? And I said, well, first off, you got to have a man to get pregnant if you're a woman.
True story.
I said, and then she goes, well, no, you don't. You can go get that in vitro. I'm going, wow, you really are a feminist. Going, why would you not want a man in your life? I said, have all your relationships been that bad with men that you just don't think there's no good ones out there? I said, you can't be beating that into a young woman's head to thinking that there's no good men out there. I said,
not to mention the in vitro still requires the man.
Well, somewhere
a man was involved in this, right? So I'm just throwing it out there. Somewhere.
But it's just, I'm just going, why would you even think that way? I'm going, what about that kid? Don't you think them kids want a dad growing up? So I don't know. I get a little irritated at some of the mindset nowadays, and it's all this crap that's going on in the media. I mean, our country's just so messed up right now.
Well, the media is trying their hardest to show it, but it seems when I have conversations with other men, when I have conversations with other families, obviously my circle is my circle. So I've tried to kind of protect that. I think that we are starting to go on the right track again. I'm hoping so anyways.
I hope.
Where we're starting to see the positives come out. I just heard, I think it was yesterday, that Disney postponed their Pride Week because they couldn't get enough sponsors to pay for it. And I was like, well, what do you know? And that was one of those things that always drove me nuts. Like pride, like I don't like pride. You should be proud in great accomplishments and stuff, which always was like, okay, well, I mean, it's a different sort of pride, I guess. This is the pride the Bible warns me about, I believe.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you 100% there. I don't understand. And then this deal that Schumer's trying to do with the flag and all, I'm going, why do the Democrats, and I don't know what affiliation you are, but in my opinion, it just seems like that side is just doing everything they can to destroy the country. And I don't understand why. I don't get it. It just makes no sense to me. But we'll see. I think we got some strength in the office now, and hopefully we can keep the strength in it after the next term, and hopefully things get changed around. But it's going to take time to fix what's been messed up.
Yeah.
It's going to take time.
Yeah, we all have to realize that there were things that the mistakes on both sides were made, and we need to adjust fire. And for me, I think the fiscal part is what drives me more insane than anything else. Like, we spend money like it's our job, and like we have got a bunch of people in this country that were like your 9 and 10-year-old daughter that think that they should just get things for free because we live in this country. And it's like, I don't think you understand how this country became a country. Like, I don't, like, it wasn't because everybody wanted to be on the dole. Like, what is happening here?
Yep, I see it every day, because the work ethics today in the younger generation just isn't there. The younger people, I don't get it. I don't know how people eat. If they don't like what the work they go do, I'll just go home. Well, how are you paying your bills? How do you pay your rent? How do you eat? How do you feed your family? What do you do? If you don't want to just go work, what are you doing? I don't understand it. I don't know. It doesn't resonate with me. I mean, you got to get up and hustle every day to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But some of these guys, they're totally content. They got enough money to buy a 6-pack of beer and a pack of cigarettes and
forget about life for a bit.
Yeah, taco or two, and just live like nothing. I'm going, what kind of life is that? Why do you even think that way? Because you're lazy? I don't know. I don't get it. That's a whole different story there.
I was having a conversation with one of my employees yesterday, and I try to tell all my employees, I actually do care about my employees. All of my employees are basically teenagers, right? On one of my businesses anyways. So, and I tell them, I'm like, I know that you're going to be going somewhere else. My goal is to give you skills that you get to take to your next position to help you grow and foster a better work environment and to be able to become a different person than you are now. So whether that's skills in, I was just telling a couple of them last night, exactly what you said, is I would be nowhere without my wife. The top two things you could do in your entire life is follow Jesus and marry the right person. So if you could follow those two things, your life is going to be infinitely better. It doesn't mean your bank account's going to be bigger. It doesn't mean that your life is going to be easy. It doesn't mean any of that stuff, but it's going to be way better than if you choose not to follow Jesus and you marry the wrong person. So narrow those two things down. And then after that, let's stack some skills. What can you learn in this job? How can I encourage you to be the best employee you could be so that you know what hard work is, so that you know what it means to bring the best to the business that you're in, that you may not be an owner of the business, but dagnabbit, you can learn some skills and build yourself up to go, man, I'm going to be the best employee that's here. And then when I move on to the next spot, I'm going to have some skills to take to them and show them what it means that I could be a rock star employee. But if you're going to be a bump on a log, I got a business to run. I'm not here to baby bumps on logs. That's not what I'm here for. And I love being able to do that now in a smaller business, which one-on-one and sit down and have these conversations and say, hey, maybe nobody's ever told you this before. Maybe nobody's ever told you that hard work means something, but it absolutely does. And I want to see it, and I want to see what you're doing for it. And I don't know. I hope I get to make an impact in one way, shape, or form with some of these younger folks. A majority of the people that I've hired are homeschool students, which has been funny because they have just a different mindset than other folks that have been growing up in a school system. I don't know. What would you say for somebody like me who's got, 19, 20-year-old employees, and I'm really trying to raise them in a way that, maybe they didn't have from home. I don't know. I want them to know that I care, and that I want them to grow up and be awesome and, be productive members of society and not grabbing that 6-pack of beer and a taco and being bumps on a log.
Well, I think the first thing that I've learned over the years is, everybody's definition of success is different. So I would find out from them what their goals are in life, what their definition of success is. Not everybody's going to want a 6-figure bank account. Less about that. Figure out. I would definitely, if I was employing a bunch of young, you're basically being their mentor. Their life mentor is what you are. So I would be asking them, what is your definition of success? What do you want to achieve in your life? Kind of mentor them on that path. Maybe their definition of success is a great marriage and kids that love them and grow. A lot of people, that's success too.
Yeah.
Where you take, the other side of the deal, a guy that's got $1 million in his bank account, that's success to him. But he's sacrificed everything else to get there. So, it's just, and with this young generation, who knows? They might not even know what success is or what it means. Yeah. So they see somebody else out here taking pictures with a Lambo and a jet behind them. Well, they need to understand that stuff's rented and you can be successful on social media very easily.
Yes.
Just because he says he's doing this, that don't mean he's successful. You got every Tom, Dick, and Harry out here that's flipped 2 houses and now he wants to be a coach. What makes you a success, what makes you think that you can teach somebody how to do something you've done it twice? Everybody thinks, I'm going to go out here and start these masterminds and make $10,000 a person. I'm going, dude, you got to do your time. You're too young. Yeah. You're still wearing a diaper. You need some scars, So I don't know. That's just my opinion. And then I get the kickback. Well, you don't have to be great at what you're doing to be a good teacher. So, I don't know. I think you need some street creds before you can go out there and teach people. You need to tell them about the bad side. It's not all glory everywhere.
Yeah, you still have to understand strategy. You still have to understand experience and where things are going. And I could teach the mechanics to just about anybody on how to buy an apartment building. But man, oh man, having owned almost 400 doors, that helps me out a lot in being able to say, hey, this is actually some of the mistakes you're going to make. This is actually my first deal. Oh man, that was dreadful. That was like a master's degree in real estate because I was like, this was a terrible idea. But I learned so much that I was able to go, okay, well, my next one's going to be more successful. And then my next one's going to be more successful. And then maybe the next one's not. But I know how to work through it. You know, I know how to work through it because I've been through the hard times. But yeah, I agree with you there.
You know, the experience is everything. The guys that don't have the experience shouldn't be teaching people how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
No, I can understand that. I can understand that opinion and agree with it. And yeah, I think finding that definition of success, you know, what is it for my employees? Where is it? Because I can't imagine that any of my employees are going to say my definition of success is going to be to sit here and make minimum wage for the rest of my life. Because that's, I mean, maybe it is, but I would love to craft a different idea of what success is for them as we grow through it, and let them know that there are people out there who actually care about their success and want them to grow and build and become better. And I love the mentor side of the house. I mean, I never really got that in the military. You know, you'd think you would on the mentorship side, but it's all about, you know, the next mission and the next thing and the next, I'm on to the next. I mean, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time, but never had that level of mentorship. So to me, it's a lot of fun to be able to look at these 17, 18, 19-year-old kids and be like, man, if what I could do to learn a little bit more now, because I was paycheck to paycheck until I met my wife. And then I was like, holy crap. Things are different. You have a savings account. I didn't know people did that. Like I didn't know that was a thing. I'm so glad you didn't talk to me about finances before we got married. Like, wow.
Out there. Exactly.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, I was a complete shock to me. So now looking at your daughters, what's the relationship now like with your daughters? How do you kind of maintain, now that they're basically out of the house, how do you maintain a strong relationship with them? How do you guys reminisce over the times from before? What does that look like now for you guys?
Well, all three of them have a different personality, every one of them. They're very close to their mother. Every one of them calls their mother every morning and talks to them, but they don't call dad every day. They call dad when they need something. When they got an issue or something needs to be fixed, because dad can do anything. And that's fine. I love it that way. The little one comes over quite a bit because they all live very close. So we're very lucky on that. They all live within a 20-minute, 30-minute drive of the house. You know, but they have their lives that they're trying to, you know, conquer too. So they're very busy. And if I haven't heard from them in a week, I usually will reach out and say, hey, are you doing okay? What's going on and everything? Try to schedule a little time with them and talk. It's two of them. One's married, the other one might as well be. And so, you know, they've got their own lives together, doing their own things. But I try to talk to them and see them and have conversations with them as much as I can. It's just, I wish it was more, but I don't want to be in their way, because I remember being young. You was 100 miles an hour. Hell, I'm still 100 miles an hour, but it's still, you're doing things with your man, you know, but don't need to be involved. Dad don't need to be in the middle of all that. You know, they need to do their thing, and I'm here if they need me. It's just, you know, we're all adults now, so adult life's different than, you know, a high school kid. My whole job, your job as a parent is, when they're in high school, is just embarrass them, you know, keep them embarrassed, but be there when they need you, you know, because, you know, when you're 16-year-old, dad's not cool. Dad's not cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know if you, how old's your oldest?
11.
Okay.
I'm still cool. Right now.
You're still cool.
Yeah.
There'll be a time.
Yeah.
But, you know, I always just wanted to be my daughter's hero.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's all I ever cared about, is I wanted them to look at me and then think, I want to marry a man like my dad. A hard-working, go hard, that can do anything, that will take care of me. I know my middle one did. I think my oldest may have found one, and I think my youngest will run the household. She's pretty. You know, my oldest is type A personality like me. My youngest has got a type A with a little bit of C in her, and then my middle one's just my princess. You know, she loves life, loves everything. She's just the sweetest thing on the planet. She likes nice things, but I don't think she wants to drive hard to get it. She wants her man to do it.
That's funny. So
she married a guy that he just treats her like a queen. I couldn't have asked for a better son-in-law than him.
Nice. So, that's great to hear. I can hear a little bit of almost sadness in the fact that you don't get to communicate as much with your daughters as you'd like. Are they aware that you would like that to happen? That you would like to talk with them a little bit more?
I think so. You know, but I don't want to be that corny old dad. Hey, You want to get together and hang out today and do something? What?
Yeah.
I would love to spend more time with them, but it's just I don't know. I do reach out, but they're very busy, so it's kind of something that they'll call me, and I live by my calendar. We even kind of made a joke, say, hey man, here's my calendar, book it, let's get it, put it on there, and then they get mad at me when I say that. I get up in the morning, I look at my calendar, okay, this is what all I got to do today, because I've got so many irons in the fire that I have to live by it. So I just, they're close. We get to see them every week, so it's not like I don't see them. They're gone for 2 months or so. I actually physically get to see them at least every.
You think some of that longing comes from you feeling like you missed out on some of it when they were growing up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in other words, anybody listening, get that time in now so you don't have to long for it as much later on, because I don't know. It's one of the reasons that we decided to start homeschooling. We're planning out our, we're going to sell the house here soon, and we're going to buy a Class A RV and drive the country for a while and just spend some time.
That's pretty awesome. I had another buddy that did that. I'm going, wow, I don't know if I could do that. I really don't know if I could do that. But that's neat. That's really
well. I don't know if I can either because we haven't done it, but we're about to find out, right? And if we hate it, then we turn around and come back. Who cares? Like it's worth a try.
That's right. You can always say, hey, this blows. We'll just go back to where we was.
Exactly.
I never had. I just couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it. I'm golly. Because I'm one of those guys, when I go on vacation, I love Caribbean vacations. I love scuba dive, go do all that stuff. So we used to take quite a bit more. This year, I'm not. My fourth day, I'm ready to come home.
Yeah.
I'm just ready to come home. So being gone for 2 to 3 weeks, I don't know if I could handle it. I think I would go berserk. Because I'm just such a control freak with my businesses and stuff that of course, I don't have the kind of staff I need to be able to walk completely away.
Yeah.
And it's my fault because I'm a control freak. I really am. But, one day I'm thinking, I'm going to go hard for at least another 5 or 6 years. And then we'll start, backing off and slowing down. Just doing the little things I enjoy. But I don't know. I mean, that's cool that you guys are going to do that. I think that's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, how long are you going? I said, absolutely. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, that's how long I'm going. Like, I don't know. It might be a month. It might be a year. I have no clue. I don't know how long it's going to be at all. But I know that we're going to see some cool things. That we're going to have fun as a family, no matter where we go, no matter what we do. We're going to stop somewhere in Oklahoma and see a whole bunch of longhorns. We're going to stop somewhere in Canada and see a bunch of really cool things up in Banff. We're going to stop and see family and friends and sites and all of these national parks and monuments. Like, it's going to be a great time. I don't know how long it's going to be. Regardless, there's a guy that he used to be in GoBundance, but he's been doing this for 9 years now with his family. He's got 2 kids, and they've been full-time on the road in an RV for 9 years. And they're like, I wouldn't change it at all. Like, they travel all over the place. They've got a YouTube channel and stuff now. I follow them on YouTube just to kind of listen to their stories and how they go. And I'm like, this is fantastic. Like, I doubt that I'm going to be doing this for 9 years. But the fact that people like that are out there and they're out there and enjoying it, and still they're a real estate agent and a lender. So like a broker. So they're like, hey, we do this from the road. We figure it out, and you can too. Why the heck not? Make the life that you want, spend the time that you want with your kids now, spend the time that you want in the places you want. So give it a whirl. So I said, all right, let's go. Let's give it a whirl. And my wife just retired from the military. So off we go. It's all she wrote. Let's do it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Love it.
But yeah, and this is one of those, talking to people like you is one of the reasons that pops up in my head. It's like I get to actually spend that time with them. I get to explore these places with them. That's hopefully providing some core memories that they're like, you know what? It meant a lot to me to spend that time with Dad and Mom. It meant a lot to me to see the things that they allowed me to see. And I look forward to sharing that with my kids one day. And then I hopefully will get to see my grandkids, and they're out there exploring and doing all the stuff. And, I don't know. It's I love the idea of spending all that time with them, expressing what it means to me. Because again, when they're out of the house, I can go make $1 billion. Like, I don't because $1 billion is probably going to be worth like $10 now if our economy stays the way it is. Everybody's going to be billionaires, and it's not going to mean anything.
Always, it's always there. You can always go make it.
Exactly. So when it comes to the business side now, like what is the are you still like, are you trying to grow, or what does business look like for you now?
Well, I went down that path about 2 years ago of, I want to blow up, and I started doing the syndications and started doing big projects, and it just, it sucked the life out of me. And I wasn't making any more money than what I was doing the smaller projects. And the smaller projects, I had a whole lot more time on my hands. So we're almost over that hump of the big projects, and I'm gonna pull back and go back to just, doing the things that, instead of doing a whole lot, just doing the things that make the real money. And I've kind of got that. And like I said, I'm trying to build my 401k, so I'm building a whole lot of duplexes and fourplexes right now, just keeping and just trying to build that. I've got enough lots and projects put together now that within the next 24 months, I should have about 100 doors of new duplexes and fourplexes. And
nice.
In doing so, I'm going to, each one of my daughters, I'm going to sell each one of them one at cost, and then I can gift all the equity and closing costs and everything because they are my family.
Yep.
So my plan is to get each one of them to buy two, and once they own two, then they're millionaires on paper. And I said, I feel like I've done my job. But you've got good cash flow, you've got brand new assets that if you do it right, you can have them paid for in 7 years, and then you've got $8,000 to $10,000 a month coming in on an asset that's paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Keep building that, and then you won't have to be chasing paychecks at 50. So that's my goal. But will it work? I don't know. We'll see. But my goal is to, that's the whole thing now, that I'm trying to get them to a point in life that was at their age.
Yeah. I love that the focus is still trying to provide something for the family and something growing there. And I love
build
it.
a legacy, and just a legacy for them. So when they have their kids, they have the mindset that of, okay, Dad taught me this, I need to teach mine that there's more than a paycheck. There's nothing wrong with a paycheck, but you need to think bigger. So I truly feel that, like you said, the path that this country's going, you're going to have to be at a different level to be able to survive. And I think the only way that's going to put you there is wealth. You're going to have income producing assets to get to, so you're safe.
I think assets are where it's at for sure, regardless.
Yeah.
Because the paycheck can go away quickly. Assets don't really go away that quickly. They may lose some value, but they're still there, right? Set yourself up well, have good cash flow on them, have the assets there, treat them well, and they're going to treat you well as you continue to grow.
Great.
I completely agree with that. All right. Well, Jay, it's been awesome chatting with you. Is there anything that we didn't touch on? I know we talked a lot about the kid side of the house, but is there anything that you were like, man, I really hope we get to talk about this, and we haven't hit it yet?
Man, I don't know. We talked about so much. I haven't talked this much in forever. So it's been great. I've enjoyed it tremendously, and I just want the guys out there with the little kids like you to think about how important that time is.
Yeah, me too.
Is I tell young men every day that they're out here trying to be the rock star, and I'm going. I had an old man tell me when I was that age, and I just brushed it off. He's going to say, "Boy, you need to slow down and spend some time with those kids." I had a guy tell me that, and he didn't. I'm going, "Oh man, I'm going to make this money. That money's going to make our life better." And now that I look back, I'm going, that old fart was pretty sharp. Now I say, you can't buy that time back. I don't care if you're a billionaire. You ain't going to buy that time back.
Yeah.
Those kids need memories.
For sure.
So that's the main thing. They just need to understand that, the time is more valuable.
Yep. Completely agree. Little lady's at the door again. I completely agree. So sounds like I need to go spend some time. All right. Well, Jay, it was absolutely a pleasure. I appreciate your wisdom that you were passing, and I hope everybody listening that you take that advice, you spend that time with the kids, you spend that time with your family. You don't get it back. It's not coming back. And I'm very thankful that my military career, all of my deployments and everything were before kids. Because I know a lot of guys who lost a lot of time with their family, and now in business, I see the same thing. And I strongly encourage everybody to sit back and realize, okay, what is it that I could provide these kids that doesn't come from money? What is it that I could provide these kids that doesn't take me working, 14 more hours this week to make sure that this business does this or that business does that? And it's just spend time, like you said, go play ball in the backyard, go out on a picnic, go to the park, play. All that stuff is free. All it is a little bit of extra time.
Yep.
Keep your phone in your pocket. Don't pull it out. Go have some fun with your family.
Yep.
But Jay, thank you very much for the sage advice and wisdom. I greatly appreciate it. I'm glad you were referred over to me to have a conversation.
It was a pleasure.
Folks are listening to this. Is there anything that is there any contact information you want to give out, a way for folks to get a hold of you if they would like to learn more about you, or maybe learn about whatever it is that you've got going on?
Sure. If anybody got anything they need to hit home with them they want to talk about, I'm very easy to find. You just Google J. London Homes in Oklahoma City, and my email's all over the internet. My cell phone, 405-443-8608.
Look at you. I'm going to write that one down because I don't know if... I do have it. I've got it in your email. But awesome, Jay.
Thank you. Thing, though. I get 1,000 spam calls a day.
I get enough spam ones. I don't need I don't wish that on my enemies. That's all right. I don't. Goodness gracious. But Jay, it was awesome getting to chat with you, getting to know you a little bit. I appreciate it. I can hear your heart for trying to encourage folks to think differently about raising their kids, to think differently about what they're doing. I thank you very, very much for jumping on and opening that up for everybody. Everybody listening, please take that advice. Share this with somebody that you think it could hit their eardrums a little bit differently. I thank you for listening. I thank you for jumping on. I thank you again, Jay, for being here, and I will see everybody on the next show.
Thank you so much for listening to the BizDad Podcast. We hope you found some value in your time here with us, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and share so you and your friends won't miss our upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble, where we continue these discussions and share more valuable content. Be the dad you know you need to be and run your business in a way you're proud to share with your kids. Keep crushing it.